went on my AMA cruise, which was awesome. People think that river cruising might be boring and just for old people, and they are very wrong, in my opinion. Unless you're an adrenaline junkie and an extrovert who has to have every single moment filled with excitement, no matter what, then it should be a pretty fun experience. So I started out, I'm just going to go through pictures and kind of just tell you guys about my experience and about the cruise itself. So started out by leaving, come on, hold on.
Pictures of the red light district.
I don't really have pictures. So it's going to load for a second. I did the whole travel light thing. I mean, first of all, it's Europe. So there's lots of stairs, cobblestone streets and sidewalks. Yeah, I mean, Rick Steves talks about it. Why would you want to lug a big, heavy suitcase and your bag and your carry-on? I mean, that's just a pain in the butt. And you could end up with a hotel that you're 4 stories up and there's no, elevator. So I went with the whole packing light philosophy. Where's the mouse? Where's the mouse? There's the mouse. It's not doing very good. This is all I took. And it was perfectly sufficient. See that black screen? That's all I took. I don't know. Haha, that's my bag.
Eventually. Wait, how long of a trip was it?
I left on Friday morning and I stayed through the following week and came back on the Monday. So, huh?
I'm gonna take that much for it.
Yeah, no, it was perfect. I made sure that I had a little tote in here in case I needed to check this on the way home and then have 2 things, if I bought a lot of stuff. I didn't end up needing to do that. I just stuffed this really a lot, undid the one zipper so it was fuller. So on the way home I just checked it and then I was able to stuff this a bit and that was fine. That's all I needed. And carried my purse because on the way there I stuck my purse in here and had all my stuff in this pocket here to easily get to. So I could have my carry-on and my personal item. And then, so left on Friday morning in Missoula, like my flight left at like 7 or 8, I don't even, 8. Left at 8. I got to Amsterdam about 8 a.m. on Saturday. And that airport kind of looks like a mall. I thought it was kind of cool.
That's kind of a mall.
The airport. Yeah, I was like, whoa, this is glitzy. Yeah. And I went through the wrong line because all it said was passport. So I went to the passport line and I went through and they're like, do you have to pick up bags? And I was like, no, I just have a carry-on. They're like looking at me like, what are you doing in our country with only a carry-on? And so I just showed them like my hotel stuff and they're like, well, if you had picked up bags, you would have to go to the other side of the airport and go through this line and that line. But since you don't have any, you're fine. We'll let you through. I'm like, okay, whatever. So that was kind of interesting, but we went to the Hyatt Regency since Adventure Life TEO and my friend kind of helped too. That was like the nicest hotel ever. The bed was so flipping comfortable. I had a view of the canals here. There was like this courtyard view through here. And if anybody wants a really nice, comfortable stay in Amsterdam, the Hyatt Regency was great.
Is it by where you boarded the ship?
Not by it, but it is like a 2-minute walk from the metro and a 1-minute walk from the tram. So you can get to anywhere in the city from there. And when you get to Amsterdam, you're going to buy a ticket to the train to take the train into the city. And the ticket's like, I don't know, €6 or something. And you just need a card that you can insert to get it. But then once you get to the city, and I just pre-planned, I knew that I needed to take this stop to this stop. I just already knew what I needed to do when I got there. Buy a like a 2-day pass or 1-day pass, depending on how long you're going to be there, because it's like €8 for a 2-day pass versus paying like €3 or €4 per trip each way every time I went. So I saved a lot of money by just doing the 2-day pass.
You didn't take taxi, or you did take a taxi? That was really
No, that's in Basel. No, Amsterdam, I just used their metro system, which was super clean, by the way. I've never seen one so clean. That was the very dirty window view of the canal from my hotel. So we went out and we wanted to explore Amsterdam a little bit, and we got caught in a massive rainstorm with no umbrellas because we didn't think it was going to rain. and just soaked. My coat was soaked through, my sweater was soaked, and we found a coffee shop that actually served coffee. Is anyone familiar with Amsterdam coffee shops?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So fun story, real quick, in case you want to know about Amsterdam. Everybody thinks that pot is legal in Amsterdam, and it is not. It is still technically illegal in Amsterdam, but they put up with it. And the reason that they call pot stores coffee shops is it's like a cover name. So when you see coffee shop tours, it's not about coffee, it's about pot. That's what coffee shop tours are in Amsterdam. But we found an actual coffee shop where I got a lovely latte, and we were able to sit there and dry off for a couple of hours, literally a couple of hours before we went out. That's my friend Daphne. And then we walked, it was really pretty out at night, and we went to Bar Bitterballen to try the local specialty of bitterballs. Hi Mo, we can see you.
Ah,
No.
guys.
Hilarious.
You all gave me your crud yesterday. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Yeah, there's one going around.
Okay, I'm gonna stop my video so I don't distract you guys.
So bitterballs, great. You can recommend them that people try them when they go, because it's like little balls of meat or cheese or something that they bread and they deep fry and serve with a special kind of sauce.
Yum.
And it's delicious. And this place, Bar Bitterballen, serves like more kinds than anybody else. They have like 34 kinds of bitterballs. And I had to say that the goat cheese one was pretty good, because I like goat cheese. And it was pretty funny. The waiter, he came out, because I kept ordering them because they come with like 4, and I wanted to try different kinds. And English is not his first language. And he comes out and he goes, your balls are almost ready in the kitchen. And then it didn't really faze me at all. And then he stopped. He goes, I mean, your bitter balls. It was pretty funny. So that's my best friend Daphne. She came with me. We met in college. She lives in Maryland. So we see each other every now and then. It was very windy. It was cold. Those are cool in Amsterdam. That is how those were originally built. They used the rope to hoist to that very top window. A person will be up there to gather it in. And in Amsterdam, you'll notice that all the buildings tilt forward just a little bit. You might think it's because they're old, but they actually built them that way on purpose to make it easier to hoist, and that things wouldn't swing and break windows on the way up. And they still use that system, which is pretty neat. Medieval gate right there. We, the next morning, so Saturday was kind of a wash because we were tired, and then we got rained on, and Amsterdam wasn't that great at that moment, but I knew it wasn't Amsterdam's fault. I knew it was just because I was tired and wet and cold. We took a free walking tour with Freedom tours, like Freedom plus Amsterdam. For the Dutch is Freedom. And it was actually a fantastic walking tour. They did a great job. It's totally free. You just tip the guide at the end. And it was a little over 2 hours. And it really honestly made the experience in Amsterdam, because he did such a good job bringing just history and culture of the area, and just really bringing the city into perspective, which I learned so much that I could spend the whole TEO talking about different things in Amsterdam. It's very interesting. I know, the cheese looks so good. I never did try it, though. It's frozen. It's not moving. Come on. So if anybody wants a fun walking tour, has a little extra time in Amsterdam, I do recommend Freedom Tours. It's all locals. It's locally owned, and I think they do a great job. Waffle stands everywhere. I never did try a waffle, though. There was only so much time, and I can only eat so much food. But I think it's cool that the medieval gate's still there. It's like one of the oldest things. There's Mike. That's the tour guide. He was hilarious. He did such a great job. He had all these like papers and things, and that he would do. And he was so good, actually, that the next morning with Amma, we had our canal cruise, which our specific guide didn't get very high ratings. I don't think Amma's going to be using him again. He spent more time talking to the driver of the boat than telling us about things, and he would tell so little information that I would lean forward to my table and be like, okay, here's what really happened in this area. But, and then here's the big city square there. It was really beautiful. And then we were hungry, and it was starting to rain, and I was like, hey, this place looks good, let's go in it. It was like a French bistro, of course. I ended up picking a French place. which was not on purpose. But there's the Hyatt Regency again, beautiful hotel. And then there's the very clean metro system. Have you ever seen a metro that clean? All of the stops looked like that. I was really impressed. Oh, random, in case people want to know what laundry typically costs on their cruise ship. Well, that's not working, is it?
You have to try.
Yeah, you can see here, t-shirt, $120, you know, quantity price, pullovers. Look, they have handkerchiefs on there.
So you have to pay per item?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Yep.
That was on mine too.
Yep.
I didn't know that. Expensive.
You pay per item, and they have a bag along with this sheet that you can put your clothes in, and you put it outside your door. No, I did not.
Okay, yeah.
I did not. I could have, considering I brought so little clothing with me, but I did not. I just wore everything twice. It keeps freezing.
Might be the battery.
Oh, that's probably it. But anyway, there's our room. Got a French balcony. I think it was like a Cat CA or a Cat CB. You know, we always tell travelers, and there is truth to this, that, you know, if you get one of the rooms on the lower deck where it's just the high window up above, it's not that big of a deal. You spend a lot of time, you know, out. But this was really nice to wake up to in the morning. It was really nice to wake up, open up the blinds. I mean, one morning there was about 20 swans outside my window, and it was really nice having the floor-to-ceiling windows. I have to say that I get it.
Hey,
Which is-
Tanesia, all I see is the menu of all your little icons for your pictures,
Really?
not a slideshow.
Hold on. How do I do this, guys? Rachel.
Share.
New share?
Yeah, try it.
Just try a new share, maybe. Yeah, sometimes it just gets frozen on an old one.
This one?
Yep, yep.
Share. Do you see it, Mo?
Yay, thank you.
Welcome. Okay, so yeah, lovely, really comfortable. Room for our carry-ons, plenty. I'm not sure if we had bigger suitcases. I'm not completely sure where we would have stashed them, honestly. Might have tried to find room in the closet. But the carry-ons fit there really nice. This computer, it's like a computer with a keyboard where you can actually go log into your email and do things. And the Wi-Fi was pretty good throughout the trip. There was, if you were going through a lock, there was no Wi-Fi, and every once in a while you'd hit an area where you didn't have Wi-Fi. But for the most part, there was good Wi-Fi throughout the trip. This had like satellite channels on it, and then also they had, you know, downloaded like movies and TV shows that you could watch, which was really nice. They had a rainwater shower head, which I love. I know, that's the bathroom for you. And they do turn down service twice a day. They do it while you're in breakfast, and then they do it while you're at dinner. That's a random little submarine when we were on our canal cruise. Isn't that funny? The guys popped out of the top and started waving at us. But they have great food all the time. You could never get hungry. If you're hungry on one of these cruises, you might have a medical condition. Just saying. But I mean, they had stuff like this all the time. There's always food to eat. And they had like a legit chef on board who made fantastic food. There's us relaxing. So there's our canal cruise. That is Mira and Debbie behind us. They kind of became our buddies. There's also one other guy, Eric, who banded with us. We would do our excursions together. Debbie and Mira both live in Seattle, and her mom, Debbie, is a travel agent there. Half of the cruise is travel agents, you guys.
Oh, wow.
Like half of the cabins specifically were travel agents, and it was either a travel agent and guest or 2 travel agents in the cabin. So it was, I mean, we even had a day where we had a 2-hour meeting for the travel agents in a special area of the ship just for travel agents. So had no idea. There's Mike. There's my awesome tour guide. He was like, give me great reviews. I'm like, I will. So I give him a TripAdvisor review because he was awesome. So that's kind of just arriving in Amsterdam Saturday morning, Sunday, and then Monday morning. And then Monday, after you do your canal cruise, you get back on board, you're eating lunch, they take off. And you don't port until the next day in Cologne, because it takes like 23 hours to get to Cologne from Amsterdam. But, you know, it doesn't get boring, because you go in the morning, and, you know, you get up in the morning, you go eat breakfast, you relax for like an hour, and they have a buffet, and you can order from the menu. So you have options of both. And then before you know it, it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock. You go up to the lounge to have a coffee and talk with your peeps. And then it's all of a sudden, oh, it's 11. Oh, they're doing briefings for the afternoon excursions. And then the briefings are over. Wow, it's lunchtime already. Okay, let's go get lunch. And then you spend an hour eating lunch. You're like, oh, crap, I have 10 minutes to go grab my coat, my audio box, and everything to get ready for my excursions. And then you're out until maybe 4:30 or something. You come back and you're like, okay, I need to relax a little. That was tiring. Oh, it's 5:30. Ooh, it's sip and sail. And that's when you go up to the lounge. They have live music. They have the onboard musician going, and they have a specific cocktail for that day, which is just unlimited. And they have snacks and tapas and all kinds of stuff. And that's an hour. And then once that's over, it is dinner time, and it is time for your. I'm telling you, you can't get hungry. And then it is time for your 4-course meal and your never-ending wine glass. It does not get lower than about that much, because they do. And we actually had an ongoing thing. I swear the staff was half the fun of the trip. The teasing never ended. We had this ongoing thing where the bartender in the area we tend to sit, his name was Vladimir, and you know, like especially my friend Daphne, she would cover her glass with her fingers because, you know, one glass is enough, and then he keeps refilling it every time she takes a sip, and he would just be like, no, and then she'd move her hand, he'd pretend he was leaving, he'd turn around and pour more in it, and they do that with the wine and beer. You never get to the bottom of the glass. Even the last night, it kept going. He's like, why do you do this to me? And we just kept covering our wine glasses. He looked at her and he goes, I've never felt so rejected in my life. It was hilarious. But anyway, we eventually got to Cologne and finally got to experience a Christmas market. Go down here. Come on, little mouse, you can do it. I don't have a ton of pictures in Cologne, but here is the beautiful view outside that nice cabin windows. Again, I totally get wanting those floor-to-ceiling windows.
You ever dock next to other ships? I've had people ask me about that, like.
Occasionally, but
like,
it usually wasn't
in
for
the
very long.
windows. Okay.
It would usually maybe be at night during dinner for 2 hours or something, but we never stayed next to a ship.
Okay.
It was just maybe a few hours at a time at the most, and not very often. But a lot of it looked just like this, all of our cruising. And it was just lots of farmland, so many sheep. I've never seen so many sheep in my life. Here's Cologne. We had an awesome walking tour. At first, I thought he was weird. Then I realized he had an awesome dry sense of humor. And he was a history teacher as well. He grew up in Berlin, and he was 10 years old when the wall fell. And it was so funny. He said, you know, he goes, we didn't think the wall was going to stay down. So immediately my sister and I told our parents, we're going on the other side and we're getting Nutella. We're getting a case of Nutella, and that's all we want. But the Christmas markets, look how beautiful this is. It is matching stalls, like they're stick-built stalls. It's not like a bunch of tents next to each other, and they all match, and they're all very highly decorated. You have to be careful about taking pictures because a lot of the stalls have signs up that say do not take pictures. So it's kind of hard to get good pictures sometimes. But see, aren't those gorgeous? And Cologne has 10 Christmas markets, 10 of them. And they have a little train that you can pay and to get, it's like a hop-on, hop-off thing to go market to market. And they have an ice skating rink, and they have these little gnomes. I don't know why. Apparently they watch over people. But you see random things like ironwork. How cool is that? But yeah, very elaborate. Almost every Christmas market you go in is going to have a carousel or a Ferris wheel. You see those all over the place. Oh, that was part of our walking tour. It was of the city. I thought that was pretty neat. I like stuff like
Was your guide, did they all like live in the city you were visiting?
Yeah, pretty much. There's a few that apparently somebody else had a guide in Cologne that had lived there for a couple of years but was actually British and wasn't actually German. But apparently he still did a pretty good job. But I liked my guy. He was hilarious, and he was a history teacher, so he just pounded us full of information, which I thought was wonderful.
How big were the groups, and were you with the same people every time for every excursion?
So the excursions, the way they do them is, I mean, you sign up for your excursions online ahead of time, but still there's flexibility once you get on the ship. If you want to switch them, it's fine. So for like the city tours, they'll have, you know, like these color cards. Which actually I accidentally took one with me in a pocket that I still have, which I thought was in here, but I don't think it is. They have, and so like this, they'll tell you like light pink is for gentle walkers, which is great because the gentle walkers aren't going to feel rushed by regular walkers, and regular walkers aren't going to feel slowed down by gentle walkers. So, I mean, that's kind of a great system, but they'll also have multiple color cards of like the regular walkers so that they don't have too many people in a group. So it was like maybe 15 of us walking around with the tour guide,
There's
max
one excursion
20.
per port included.
Yes, you have to choose which one you want to do. So definitely did the walking city tour.
But there's more than one choice per.
Yeah, it's
Right.
going to be like a city tour or it's going to be an active thing typically. I didn't do any of the active ones because I wanted to learn about the cities. I think if you go on a hike on some mountain, then you're not getting the experience of that city and the history of it. And
So local activities were like hikes or?
hiking or biking. That's for the most part that's what all the active excursions are going to be. Which they also have a wellness host on board, and they have workouts going all day long. No. No, there were a lot of people that did though, that actually ate well and worked out. I mean, they have morning yoga, and they have all day long. There's some type of fitness activity that you can join into. So if you want to stay fit, you can. Our wellness host was Ernie. But yeah, no, definitely didn't do any of the active ones. I thought about it just for the experience, but it was cold, and I really wanted to see the cities. So I stayed with the city tours. Of course, beautiful cathedral, Christmas markets. What's cool on the outside of the Christmas markets, they have trees everywhere. And then this is the museum in Cologne. So that is the oldest, oh gosh, I can't think of the name, where they put mosaic. Yeah, this is like from over 2,000 years ago. This is actually where it was. They dug it up and found it in Cologne, and they built a museum around it. And you can see it from the outside, which is pretty neat. But yeah, Christmas markets, beautiful. Cathedral was pretty neat. This city tour continued into the cathedral, and he kept telling us about it. And you might hear more history from me than you want to, but fun fact, the reason these stained glass windows are still in such great condition is that when World War II started, they actually removed them from the cathedral. And the reason the cathedral did not get blown to bits during World War II is because the glass wasn't in there. When those bombs would drop, they would destroy with pressure. They would blow everything out with pressure, but because there were no windows, the pressure was able to escape. And that's why the cathedral is still here. The bombs on it, if the windows had been in there, the bombs that had been dropped on it would have exploded the cathedral. We wouldn't have it anymore. It should be sad. Supposedly the bones of the three wise men are in there. Who knows? Every nativity, there's all these nativities all over, and they don't set them out all at once like we do in the States. Every day they move pieces as if it was in the journey. So like they don't put out a manger until December 25th. So every single day they move around the nativity. And this was like super ornate, and these figures were actually about this big. There was a really large nativity. They were all about a foot tall. Christmas markets have super fun, cool stuff to shop, like these very ornate cookie cutters, which I would have easily bought one of every kind and taken another suitcase for them. I know, I love them. I thought they were great. You don't see them that ornate typically. And also they gave us a Glühwein ticket for our first excursion in Cologne, so we were able to go get hot mulled wine at the market for free. And then they serve them in these little cups, and if you take the cup back, you get like €1.50 or €2 back. And that's how it works at all the markets. You pay for the mulled wine and the cup. You can keep the cup if you want, or you can return it and get money back. I wasn't a big fan of the Glühwein. Wasn't my favorite thing. Hot mulled wine.
Hot mulled wine.
Yeah. You can get it. They have like red, they have white, they have all these sorts of different flavors of it. What was after Cologne? I think the next day was Rudesheim.
What was the trip called? I forget that you went on.
Christmas markets on the Rhine.
Yeah.
So we went to Christmas markets in every single place, but I have to say, after a couple stops in Germany, they got a little monotonous because they sell almost the exact same things in every Christmas market. I didn't see new things until we got to France. And then I felt like the Christmas decorations in Germany were almost kind of cartoonish, just the style of them, whereas you get to France and they're a little more elegant and whatnot. But Wednesday was literally one of the funnest days because that was the castle viewing day. So they tell you beforehand, like, hey, castle viewing's going to start at 7:30. So everybody just crawls out of bed and puts on their coat and grabs a blanket, and you go up to the sun deck, and there's just people all over the place. And that's when you get to watch the castles go by. And the cruise manager, he'll go through the speakers and he'll tell you about the different castles. And then you also have your little audio box where it cues at different times to tell you stories. But it was a little cheesy. It was really random stuff like, in 1252, there were some boys who swam out into the lake here, butt naked, and it was just really weird, random stories, and had this corny music. We're like, this is dumb. We'd rather listen to the cruise manager tell us about these castles. It was just really weird stuff. So we ditched the audio boxes. We enjoyed talking to each other and watching the castles along the way, and that was for a couple of hours. It was really, really fun. They would tell us too, like, okay, the next castle will be a half hour from now, so we'd like run down and get some breakfast. And by the way, if your people are not early risers, at 9:30 they do a late risers breakfast in the lounge, which is a lighter buffet style kind of breakfast that they have like 10:30 to 11. So if people want to sleep in because they're hungover from the night before, from too much wine because of Vlad, they can have a late breakfast and it's fine. There's always food. But beautiful castles. I mean, it was just one after another. And then these just really pretty portside towns to go by. Oh, there's me and Mira. We rolled out of bed. It was great.
How many people were on the cruise?
Grand total was like 144 or something. But it doesn't feel like there's a lot of people on the cruise. It literally felt like maybe there was 40 people on the cruise. Yeah, towns are super cute. It was funny. So Andy, our rep, he was on this cruise. He was the one who kind of organized it and made it a travel agent cruise, basically. He was so funny. We were out there that morning, and you see lots of barges go by with containers on it. And just with the most serious face ever, he goes, hey, look, the new Viking ship. We were just all started laughing. He goes, yeah, you get a discount because there are no windows. We're just like, oh, Andy. Oh, it was pretty great. Which, by the way, random side note, as many boats as we saw on the Rhine, I saw 2 Viking ships, and I did not see one other boat that we actually sell for. None. I thought I would have been seeing boats that I recognized all the time. I only saw 2 Viking ships, and that was it. I did see a lot of boats, though. There's a reason we can't sell to Europeans, because the majority of the boats I saw there are European owned and operated, and it's like a German company cruising on the Rhine. Well, a German who contacts us about river cruising isn't going to end up booking with us. They're going to book with one of the local German companies where the cruise is in German and they're paying in their own currency. I mean, so many ships, all European ships, almost none that we sell for. I was actually really surprised. Another fun fact about Alma, on the sun deck, the area that the captain is in, the way that they have it built, they can hydraulically lower it so that if the river levels are too high, they can still get under the bridges and don't have to dry dock like all of the other ships do. So they can keep cruising when others can't, which is really cool. Oh, that's apparently the new Viking ship right there. I lost it when Andy said that. 2 castles, apparently 2 brothers who hated each other built those, built a little wall here.
Oh my God.
And then the brother in this castle murdered the brother in this castle, but he said it was an accident, so who knows? Happened like 600 years ago. But again, one castle after another. It was such a fun morning being outside, trying not to be cold and watching castles. But that is when you pretty much, between Cologne and Rudesheim is when you see all those castles. Everybody says, I want to come on the Rhine to see castles. It's the one day. It's the one day, but there's a lot of them. I did not filter these pictures, guys, sorry. We were cold. And then they did bring us out some like hot Rudesheimer coffees, which is like an Irish coffee, but it's made with the Rudesheimer brandy. And so they were serving those to us on deck, which was pretty fun. Old random towers you see. probably like 35 to 45, depending on the day. There were some definite rainy days. Another thing, AMA has umbrellas in the cabin, so people don't need to bring their umbrella for their cruise necessarily at Christmas time. Every single night you're going to get one of these, which shows things about the city, what the sunrise, sunset, weather. On the other side, it has your very detailed, very, very detailed itinerary. There is no question what's going to be happening. Sometimes you might even get a longer one like this, 2 pages, because on this day you have the choice between 2 different cities. And then, again, I just brought random stuff just to show y'all. You get a schedule with the weekly workouts here with Ernie, the onboard wellness host for our cruise. You get this welcome all aboard at the beginning of your cruise. And here's the laundry list in case anybody needs to see it. Yes, we had an ice cream party. It was really fun. And then we have a night where we have a very fancy, this is some French culinary club that AMA is a part of that not a lot of people get to be part of. So we had a fancier than our 4-course meal option one evening, which was just really, really delicious. No, not at all. Like, maybe a few people would dress up, but you feel comfortable being in jeans and a t-shirt your entire cruise. There are pictures they show people, like with their models, where people are dressed up, but that is not how it is at all. Nobody dresses up. Randomly, a few random people dress up because I think they just like to.
Because they have.
Yeah. And, of course, they also give you information on amenities, all this stuff, and you get a brief overview, but not the detailed day by day. You get your itinerary for the next day while you're at dinner. They put it when they clean your cabin. They also have an app, by the way, that you can download your itinerary every day on and see on your phone. And they have free postcards that you can pick up. You can write on it, fill it out, and hand it to them, and they will mail it for you. Yeah. It was fun stuff like that. Andy, he goes, one time I did about 200 postcards for all of my family and friends and did it, and he's like, I don't think corporate ever found out, so I'm good. I'm like, oh, Andy. Huh? Oh yeah, 10. He said he did like 200. He must have included all the travel agents he worked with in that, I'm sure. But Rudesheim was super cool. You could do like a wine tasting, or you could do a gondola ride over the vineyards. And then I think, of course, you could do a vineyard hike if you wanted on that day. Now, Rudesheim, here's the thing. People are like, oh no, 4 hours at a stop, that's not enough time. What am I going to do? The towns are small. 4 hours is more than enough time. You can do your excursion, and then you can wander around through the Christmas markets once and be like, okay, a little bit of like, what do I do now? Just a little bit. Unless you're doing a lot of shopping and you're going to eat everything in sight, you know. But I feel like it's a good amount of time. It's enough time that you don't get totally bored with the port. And then, but, you know, you can go back to the ship and relax. So they also have, AMA has a chef's table. It's a separate restaurant at the back of the ship, and you can sign up for free, and their chef does what he would think like the top meal, top pairings, where you literally have a different glass of wine with each course. And they have lots of courses with the chef's table thing. Yeah, we did it. Everybody, when you get on the cruise, you can sign up for the chef's table, and it's free. It's not any extra. It just replaces your regular dinner for one evening.
I have a question about, so when you were docking at night, like, were you mostly sailing at night, or were you docking at night, like you could get off the ship?
Mostly sailing at night.
Okay, so you weren't like having time to like go into the towns at night and like.
No, sometimes we would leave, you know, they would tell us like the ship is taking off at 9:30 at night or 10 at night. But most of the time you're cruising at night, so you're not going to be having late night life in town. Okay. Unless they change up how they do the itineraries for some reason. But like on this day, we did a wine tasting, and then my group and I, we walked around the Christmas markets in Rudesheim. And then we went and had our chef's table dinner, and then people had another excursion after dinner where we went back into town. I did the Rudesheimer coffee tasting, which was fun because they actually light the coffee on fire in front of you, and then they put the whipped cream on it.
This is actual coffee?
Well, it's got the brandy in there, of course. You know, they light it on fire.
But no weed.
No weed. No pot. We're in Rudesheim. That was another thing they warned us about. They're like, do not bring pot out of Amsterdam onto this ship into other areas in Europe. It is illegal. They definitely you can't really see it, but there's like blue right there. The camera didn't really pick up the flames very well, but there's a lovely Rudesheimer coffee. This night, oh, I shouldn't have had those in there. Somebody drank too much. Somebody drank too much. And do you see all these wine glasses? There was like sparkling champagne with some type of fruity flavor in it. Then there was white wine. Then there was 2 glasses of red wine. And there was the sip and sail rum and coke before this dinner. And then there was the Rudesheimer coffee in town. And before you know it, you had 8, 9 drinks in you, and you're crawling on the floor. There's our rep Andy right there. And these guys, this guy, his name is Lucky, and he's kind of point man for AMA in South Africa. He kind of helps them get into the local culture more, and they also support a specific community that he had recommended, and they're putting these people through college. They just had their first like graduating class of like 20 people that AMA put through college, which is cool. So every South Africa cruise we sell, helps pay for that, gives a portion, and then they give more. So Chef's Table was pretty fun. Although slightly mentally exhausting to have to make conversation with strangers that long, I'm not going to lie. That's Joachim. He's one of my favorite people ever. He was the hotel manager, so he's in charge of the wait staff and, the maids and all of that. And so fun fact, the majority of the people working on the ship are not employed by AMA. They are employed by a company called Sea Chefs that AMA hires to staff their ships. So Joachim, he is the hotel manager. He does not technically work for AMA. He works for Sea Chefs that AMA hired. And he's been doing this, he's been in the cruise industry for like 30 years. He is from, he doesn't say he's from Germany, he's from Bavaria. And he and I started a teasing session on day 1 where we were being very sarcastic with each other, and then it continued, but then he decided I was like the sweetest thing ever. So he was like, go to the bar and get a drink on me. He like whispered it in my ear as he walked by, and then he had dinner with us one night, and it was just so sweet, and he was just the nicest man, and he made everybody feel so welcome, did an amazing job. These are not in order. I got one good photo. There it is for Rudesheim. Okay, we're almost through these. Heidelberg, not my favorite day. I think it was great. We got to see this old castle. Our tour guide, she was awesome. She had great information, but it's a personal preference that she was not my favorite because she was German who had lived in Australia for 15 years, and her accent was so weird. I mean, trying to listen to her talk, she had like this part German, part Australian accent, and it was very harsh on the ears and very hard to listen to. But she was still great. So that day, when you go on your excursions, they actually have several large buses that they do load you onto. But once you get to the destination, you come out and you meet up with your guide. And the way they do it, your color card, the guide has what they call a lollipop. It's a round thing with a stick that they hold up. And you actually take your audio box and you tap it to the little round lollipop, and it pairs it with their system so that you can hear them in your audio box during the walking tour. So again, it's like 15, maybe 20 people on your walking tour. And this is the old Heidelberg Castle, which was pretty cool. I wish we could have gone inside, but it was technically ruined. So they don't actually let people inside the ruined buildings. I'm like, I'd be fine. That'd be fun. But we didn't get to do that. That would have been more fun though. But you get to learn a lot of history. And there's the beautiful town, mostly rebuilt after World War II. Some very famous tennis stars specifically have lived there. More of the castle. Still has some of these old elements to it. Largest barrel of wine in the world. Artisans told the king it'll never work, it'll leak, and he said build it anyway. They filled it full of wine, it leaked. Sad day. The king wouldn't listen. So Cologne had a ton of modern shopping. I mean tons of it. It was like a strip with where it's all walking and just tons of modern shops. Heidelberg also has a ton of modern shopping if a person wants to do some clothes shopping.
Fancy, like Prada kind of places, or just like local boutiques?
Like I would say mixture. But there's a Heidelberg Castle up on the hill, and then there was ice skating. So they had some classical musicians on board that night that came in from Frankfurt, I believe, and they were fantastic. I missed the end because I was tired and fell asleep in my cabin. And I think, you know what, I put this on the wrong night. We did Christmas carols with the crew the following night. They were hilarious. They were grabbing people's phones and filming themselves singing Christmas carols. They were a hoot, I tell you. They were so funny. And actually, the cruise manager, Joachim, he had to separate them while they were singing Christmas carols. He grabbed one of them and put him on the other side of the circle to separate these two boys, Philippe and Vlad. What's next? Strasbourg, my favorite day ever because I lived in Strasbourg for 4.5 months. I love this city. Love it, love it, love it, love it. They also give you a map every day, so it's not like you're going to be helpless. You always have a map of the city that you're exploring. Strasbourg, beautiful. It's been France, it's been Germany, back and forth many times over. It has such a great blend of the two cultures. And it's got all these great, you know, old things everywhere, but it also has the modern amenities and the modern shops. Of course, the Christmas markets were a little different. And, oh, there's our friend Eric. He's like the 6'4" Scottish heritage guy. He was like our little protector. It was hilarious. Had more classy type looking things to purchase. Really great. This is Le Petit France, and this is the oldest part of the city. Half timbered houses. It's like, some of these houses are like 900, 1,000 years old. So pretty neat. Our little group there. And I quickly ditched the guide. You get a bus city tour, which kind of takes you around. Like it shows you the European Parliament. It shows you Parc de l'Orangerie, which was some prince built for his wife, and it has a little zoo in it. So if you go in the summer and you wanted to, you could visit the animals in the park. And they also, one of their active excursions is in that park where they do a walkthrough. But it rained all day, so that would have been miserable. The city is surrounded by a canal. Very gorgeous. Everything is elaborately decorated. There's a reason they call Strasbourg the Christmas capital of Europe. Everywhere you go. The cathedral in Strasbourg is a couple hundred years older than the cathedral in Cologne, in which they also decorate the cathedral. There's my favorite dish ever. That's tarte flambée. It is about this thick. It's not pizza. It is very, very, very paper thin dough that has creme fraiche, which is kind of like cream cheese, but it's not cream cheese. And it has thinly sliced ham and onions on it. And that easily, if you fold it up, is the size of a little sandwich once you fold it up because it's so thin. They have different kinds too. Super delicious though. Le Palais Rohan is right near the cathedral, right across the courtyard. Napoleon lived here at one point. Some royals. It can be fun to visit if you like seeing old stuff. I like old stuff. Really beautiful. More of the markets. There was just markets all over. You would just keep walking and run into. That's everywhere you went. There were just Christmas markets everywhere. You'd think you'd seen it all, and like, oh look, another market. Okay. But Strasbourg was beautiful. I did not filter through these. Oh, I got two good pictures. This one and the other one from British Time. And actually, Strasbourg has roadblocks. The old city has roadblocks around it with soldiers, which did not have when I lived there before, because I think last year there was an attack in the city center and a couple people died, and it's like the only attack like ever that's happened like that. So they now have soldiers with roadblocks all the way around the old downtown city center. But there's the front of the cathedral. Really, really beautiful. And we got like 8 hours in Strasbourg, so that was the longest stop anywhere, I think. And they had different, so I mean, you go in the morning at like 9 o'clock. They actually have it to where you can go back to the ship. You can get picked up and go have lunch back at the ship. And then you could actually go to a different city to see some giant nativity calendar or something, which I didn't do. I just stayed in Strasbourg. And then they'll have like, okay, you can get picked up at 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, or 4:30. You know, they showed you the post office by the cathedral that you would meet at. So you weren't stuck in the city all day. You had plenty of opportunity to go back. But again, we had our bus tour to start with. We got to the city center, and I looked at my friends. I'm like, you guys ready to leave? This is my city. You want to see it? And they were like, yeah. So we ditched the tour guide. I couldn't help it. And I know it's blurry, but it kind of looks like a painting, so I like that picture. Oh, that was later in the evening. This was dancing night. Andy, our rep here, he was dragging everybody up, telling them to dance. And we went and requested we would go request music, and sometimes the onboard musician couldn't understand us, especially through the loud music, so he'd let us just type in what we wanted on his computer and pull up the song, and then he'd play it for us. He was kind of our DJ for the night. Everyone was very silly, having some fun. Okay, these are about through. Okay, there we go. That's a video. Do I want to play that? Nah. Skip that. Wait, what is it? Sorry, I gotta know. Oh, they were dragging me out there. I can't dance. I don't know what to do with myself, so I just stood there. And then I did. I just stood there. How do I? This? Will it exit just the video? Okay, good. I just stood there, and then I'd go sit back down. They dragged me out again. They did it about 8 times in a row. They were very persistent. Last day. So on this day, you had 2 choices. You could visit Freiburg, Germany, or Riquefer, France. I chose France, of course, because I can't help myself. I love France. And you had a good amount of time in each place, I believe. This was the morning I had all the swans outside my window, which was beautiful. There really are swans all over the Rhine. I had no idea. See all those white dots? Those are all swans. They're everywhere. So this town, super cool. The author of Beauty and the Beast visited this town, and this was her inspiration for Bellstown and Beauty and the Beast. And I actually saw a fountain, and it looks just like the fountain that, you know, Belle sits around and the goat eats her book or tries to eat her book. So this town is completely untouched by World War I and World War II because of where it was situated near the mountains. So it is in almost exactly the same condition it was in the late 1500s. And it made on some TV show in France a couple of years ago, it made like France's most beautiful town list. So now it is a tourist hub for the French specifically because it made it on that TV show and on that list. And it's really charming, really beautiful. I would highly recommend it if people like France and French things versus going to Freiburg, Germany. Obviously, I didn't go to Freiburg, so I can't say much, but I did talk to people who visited Freiburg, and they were like, yeah, I mean, it was nice, but it was pretty much like the other German towns we visited. So, oh, here's the lollipops. Here's what the guides carry along with them. So, I mean, a lot of these you walk by and it has it painted on there like 1562, 1574. And the reason that they are overhanging like this is you were taxed based on how much your ground floor took up. So they would make the ground floor small, and then they would do these overhangs to get a little more square footage on the higher floors. Yeah. Town was super quaint. It had the original macaroon shop. So got some chocolate macaroons they're made with the original recipe. They were delicious. Got myself a crepe because that was on my list of things to do. But that's the medieval gate was attached to that. Still got the gate up there. Wouldn't want that to fall on you. So there's a medieval wall too, and then you can see the drawbridge from when it used to have a moat around the city. Anyway, a pretty town. There's the ice cream social you mentioned. It was yummy. I finally remembered to take a picture of some food, but your 4-course meals looked like this. Looked like legit chef because it was a legit chef. and everything was delicious. And they always had like a chef's recommendation on one side of the menu, and then they had other choices on the other side, and you could mix and match. But then on the bottom, you always have the option of like French fries, a hamburger, a steak, chicken strips, random stuff like that. In case a person doesn't want fancy food, there's always other options. I mean, one night I just randomly wanted a Caesar salad, so I got a Caesar salad. Okay, so these guys, that's Vlad, the bartender, and he stole everyone's phones and was taking pictures. He just took the phone and started taking pictures. That was an older couple that sat at our table that night. Yes, every single photo, he does duct tape. And there's Philippe. This waiter, Philippe, was so funny. There was one night we needed 6 seats, and the 6-seater in his section was taken, so I sat in another section, and he kept walking by. Every time he'd walk by, he'd give me that disappointed face. And then one morning, so there was a coffee machine upstairs, and of all things, the coffee upstairs tasted better, we thought, than the coffee that they served downstairs. So Mira, one of our friends in our little group, she came down, she was having coffee upstairs, and we're like, oh, it's breakfast time. So she came down with her coffee, and he goes, why do you bring coffee from upstairs? And she's like, well, because I already had it, and I don't want to waste. He goes, no, I serve you coffee. And she goes, well, honestly, I like the taste of the coffee upstairs better. He goes, then you tell me, and I go get you coffee from upstairs. Like, you couldn't do things for yourself. It was very offensive if you did things for yourself. One night, I was trying to make a table, a 6-person table, so I grabbed a place setting from another table and started moving it over, and he was like, why do you do this? And I was like, I need a 6th place. He goes, no, you sit, that's my job. And like, they would like take your cloth napkin and lay it on your lap for you, and oh my gosh, and him, Philippe, it was funny, it was the very last day, everybody was leaving the ship, he was downstairs cleaning, we could see him through the stairs, and this older lady, she goes, Philippe, you've been so wonderful. She goes, you're going to make a lovely husband someday. And he goes, yes, and a handsome one too. So we know what they thought of themselves. And so this guy, Vlad in the middle, funny, Vlad and Philippe were enamored with my best friend. I swear they'd never seen a pretty black girl before. I mean, they were enamored. I'm telling you, they were enamored with her. And one night when we were up in the lounge, because Vlad would be in the lounge serving drinks, we were walking somewhere, and he grabbed me, Daphne, and Mira, and he pulled us over. He goes, okay. And he goes to the other bar, and he goes, this is very important. We have very, very steep bets on this. And he looks at Daphne and goes, we think when you board ship, we cannot serve you alcohol. You're too young. And she's like, yeah, I get that a lot. And he goes, so we make bets, but then you talk, and we know you cannot be too young. The way you talk, it is not possible. They're Romanian, so they have their accent going on. And he goes, so we have bets, and we need to know. This is very important. He says, you're 24. I say you're 27. He goes, we need to know how old you are. And she goes like this with her thumb, starts pointing, goes, 28. And she kept going, goes, 29, 30? No. She's like, 31, I'll be 32 next month. They're like, no. And then it became a thing amongst the crew. Like the next morning, Vlad went to one of the waiters, how old do you think she is? It turned into like this thing. It was hilarious. But they kept like, and then it turned into, they guessed everybody's ages. And then they looked at Daphne and they're like, so maybe you marry him or me or both? They were crazy over her. It was pretty hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
And the captain was dancing with some old lady, and that was a little Australian guy who would join us sometimes. He was there with his family, the only Australian family. Almost everybody was American with a few Canadians and one Australian family. He was silly. He grabbed my phone when I wasn't looking. So there's more pictures. They didn't stop with just a few. That's Gabriella. You'll see her in some of Alma's photos too. They were hilarious. So it was kind of funny talking to Joachim. He would just tell us random things. Like he told us, he goes, yeah, some of the crew didn't make the cut. We can't tell them yet because the cruising season isn't over and they'll stop doing their job. But they didn't make the cut, but it's okay. There's plenty of cruises that will hire them. Most of the crew was Romanian or German, vast majority. There were some maids who were Asian, and the maids were so sweet. We had a Romanian maid named Natalia, and we got her really pretty Christmas ornament at the end and left it with a note on one of the beds saying thank you for, you know, how great she did. And so that was fun. Being a maid, I've been a maid. It's a very unappreciated job. So tried to do something nice for her. So there is the hilarious crew. They were honestly half the fun. It was nonstop with the crew. The last night was kind of sad. Everybody was literally feeling a little boo-hooey because they didn't want to say goodbye and they didn't want it to end. And we had formed such a little family group on there. But like, here, I'll just show you a few quick videos that I think are fun. This was dancing night. Somebody likes to dance. She was just like, and she and a couple of the other people were just out there going for the dancing. We would have fun with the crew doing stuff like this. Eric grabbed a stack of glasses, and we originally thought they were going to be mad at us for cleaning up the glasses ourselves. No, this turned into a game. He's a travel agent in Arizona. He was super fun. Had this
Were there a
deep,
lot of young
booming
people
voice.
because of travel agents?
Not as much. No, not as much as you might think. There was like one couple there on their honeymoon. And there was maybe a grand total of 4 teenagers, but they were very quiet and they kept to themselves. There were no issues. If anything, there were some ladies in their mid-40s who were a little too touchy-feely with this guy, Vlad. You thought they would have been trying to stick money in places. I mean, I'm not kidding. It was painful to watch how they acted with him. But again, the crew was half the fun. Random stuff like that, you know, it made it a really fun experience. Okay, this is just a conglomeration video. This is the last thing to show you guys. Yeah, it's not her best because she did it really fast for me, but she actually is typically really good at putting together videos. It's not playing very smooth on here though. The ship was decorated beautifully, I mean, and there were always Christmas balls falling everywhere. It was kind of funny. Everything was so decorated. It was like the first night when they introduced the crew to everybody. She was a little embarrassed by it. There was our captain. You see him on day 1 and at the end, and that's it.
So you can go and make the bridge.
I never tried. I never asked, so I don't know about that. I'm not really sure why you'd want to. I think the captain kind of liked not constantly being around the crew, or the people, I feel like, because you never saw him. He had a job to do, and he did it well. British Shamrock coffee. Oh, that ice cream was so yummy. Kind of funny that's a medieval gate and it has a restaurant in it. Lots of birds all over Amsterdam. There was one guy on our tour group who was most definitely had been smoking pot that morning, and he stunk so bad. Every time I got near him, I had to move to the other side of the group. Cologne Cathedral. The guy who does renovations, they have a team of 100 people doing renovations on the Cologne Cathedral, and he says the day that the renovations are done is the day the world ends. That bad. Constantly cleaning, you know, the fixtures on the outside and still repairing damage from World War II. Oh, that's me. I didn't realize I was in there. Those musicians were so good.
What time were you off the ship the last morning?
So the last day, good question, you need to be out of your rooms by 9. So what they do is they actually, a couple days before, have you fill out a form of like when you're leaving on Sunday, when your flights leave, if you need a taxi, if you're going to do your own Uber, or if you're continuing in on one of their land extensions. And if you want, they will call a taxi for you.
Okay.
Taxis, well, okay, I'll finish that. So let's say that you have to be out of your room at 9, but the like your flight isn't till 2, you can hang out in the lounge and keep drinking their free coffee and chill there. And actually, you put your bags outside your door. They take them up to the baggage area outside where the bags stay, and you just hang out in the lounge and have a good time. You can stay there for hours and hours and hours until you leave. So, I mean, that's really nice to know.
Could you tell if the ship was docked, like, around town? Like, did people get off and go explore?
Yeah, so actually on the very last day, we docked in Basel, Switzerland around, like, I think 8 o'clock, 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. So that was one night people could go out and explore. But we all just wanted to hang out with each other, so we just stayed on ship. And I would say if you have travelers who are a little bit budget, they want to arrive a day or two or even several days before their cruise, make sure they do Amsterdam to Basel. Basel was beyond expensive. A crepe that is 3 or 4 euros in France is 14 in Switzerland. So if they want to hang out extra before their cruise to adapt to the time change, they should do it in Amsterdam, not Basel. Just throwing that out there. That's not something I would have ever known or thought of, but I could not believe. I mean, you're going through Basel and you're seeing shops with, oh, that's a really beautiful dress. Oh, that's 7,500 Swiss francs. Amazing, which is exactly like conversion. It's like a Swiss franc is $1.01. Everything in Switzerland is expensive, and not as many people speak English as they do in France and Germany. Yeah, French pastries, man. There's Christmas caroling night. Which some of the carols were not quite right, which was really funny.
So question for you, Tanesia, for everyone else, how would you explain this cruise or summarize this cruise or sell this cruise differently from now that you've been on it versus how you were describing it before?
Well, how I was describing it before was just bare bones. You could almost say that there were no adjectives in my descriptions because I didn't know what adjectives would be appropriate. So, I mean, I literally just sold in Amsterdam to Basel Rhine cruise a couple of days ago. And I sold it to her because we were on the phone and I talked about my experience and how fun it was. I got her so excited that she bought the cruise. I mean, that is really, really a main difference because I can tell them, oh yeah, when I went on this, this is what this day was like. Or when people think that it's going to be too boring, you know, like, oh, you're only there for 4 hours, I can give them a quick rundown on what a day is like and how quickly it goes. And it's really such a great balance between relaxation and exploration, especially if a person is a little introverted like myself and you need that quiet time and that alone time. There is enough time to go back in your cabin, but it's not enough time to get bored with being in your cabin. Or you can go to your room after dinner and watch a movie and fall asleep to it. You know, I feel like it's such a good balance between the two. So just me getting to talk about my experience alone, that is a huge difference on talking to people about the cruise.
So for people in the room who don't have the experience you've had, what would you recommend they do?
It's hard to say because that's what I was trying to do.
They all need to go. That's what you're saying.
I mean, really, it's exactly, because I could hear about Mary talk about her cruises, but I like to know something backwards and forwards in every single piece of it, and until I know it, the whole thing, I have a really hard time talking to people about it. Not everybody's like that, but that's how I am. So unless I've experienced it, it's hard to get people excited about it. And I'm doing a lot better now that I've actually done it, and talking to people is totally different, and trying to get them interested in selling it. I'm not doing the list of questions necessarily when I first contact somebody about it. I'm more so like, hey, you know, my name's Tanesia, and yeah, I just went on my own river cruise, and I'd love to help you pick one out for yourself. And if I notice there's one thing missing and they're like, hey, just curious, what is blah, blah, blah? Hope to hear from you soon, or something like that. And I'm having a lot better success with that than sending them this explanation of who we are and what we do, and here's our list of questions that I need, and then let me know and I can do this, this, and this, or if you let me know this, I can do this, this, and this. People like weren't responding to that, but these shorter, quick, to the point emails I'm having better success with so far. And then also not trying to hide the fact, or not making it so covert almost about that this option's through Emerald and this option's through Avalon. Just telling them like, oh yeah, you know, I also have some, looking at the Rhine at AMA, maybe it's a little too expensive. I have some other great options through Emerald. Sometimes they have flight credits, so I can look at them and explain the company a little bit to them, and just being really straightforward about all these different companies and even saying it right off the bat. And at this point, if the PDF say Emerald on it, as long as it doesn't have their phone number, I'm fine. Like it's not a problem, and just being that upfront, people aren't being as weird, because sometimes
Right,
they
you're
look
not like
at,
trying to hide anything.
like I'm not trying to hide anything, and people are trusting what I'm telling them more
Right.
by just being super upfront. And there's been a couple times we're too busy, there's no way I'm going to get a PDF. I have sent links to maybe Avalon site or Emerald site on a trip we don't have on our website yet, and I have not had a problem yet with people leaving me and booking directly. I haven't had an issue with, at least with the people I've done this with yet, booking directly. They've been like, oh wow, that Emerald one looks really good, I'm just being super upfront from the beginning, and I feel like I'm having better success that way than almost kind of looking shady with the PDFs. But anyway, I
Sounds
don't
good.
know if that helps.
Yep.
I hope that helps.
Do you guys have any
And that's-
questions for her about how to describe it, given that you guys haven't been there? Cool.
You just did a whole week-long cruise in an hour, guys. You're so experienced now. I think that's it. Everyone's just staring at me, like, what do we do now? Okay, that's it. Thanks for coming and listening to me ramble for an hour.